and you're like, "Oh God, no, 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 no," and it like ruined it for me, and it ruined everything about my plan.
One of the things that people do tend to find meaning in, and again, this is one of the reasons why we talk to musicians, is that music is almost always one of the things that people turn to
Mhm.
in some form or another. During this time or other times, were there any artists or songs or albums or anything that you turned to that you were kind of like, somehow this gets it?
I feel like at the beginning, I had this idea of, oh, I'd feel closeness if I was listening to every Adele record and sobbing, and um, my takeaway really was like the importance of joyful media, even if it's television and all these things. But when your headspace is so tragic, for me personally, it served me to listen to lighthearted music. I definitely went down the Motown route. And it felt bizarre, it does. And also like you feel anytime you feel a little bit of joy or like a little serotonin boost, you feel guilt, oh my gosh, how could I be doing this? But again, how could I be feeling joy without her here? But again, I think repeating that mantra of like, she wanted to live, I'm given the choice to, um, the things that I can control, of course. And she would want this for me. Exactly what you were saying that you'd want to say to your family, but it's hard. It takes practice. Yeah. But there's a lot of Whitney Houston, like I want to dance with somebody. Again, like I think I found a lot of connection too in songs that Kate and I liked together, that reminded me of her. There are definitely ones that we listened to before she passed away that, to this day are even if they're happy sounding, they're very difficult for me. Um, and yeah, and there was definitely it was either, Motown or it was like early 2000s emo music, where you can scream and run around and yeah.
Were there any of your songs that like you feel like particularly captured what you were going through?
Oh, there's one song that it's called High Water. And trigger warning for the music video because I'm just crying in it, because it was like, how do I make a music video? So I just sang it on screen. And that song, I wrote bits of the verses in the process of what was happening, and actually bits of the chorus. I wrote these lyrics in my notes, and I didn't understand why. Because truly till that last day I was fighting. I mean, I was like, there's no possibility of me losing her, and we are gonna, we would do like a lot of like Bali visualizations because we're like, we're gonna go to a shaman in Bali, and he's gonna be like, girls, what did you go through? Like, this is crazy. Like, your chakras are all messed up. And that was a big part of, the way my sister lived her life too. And I think, I know I'm going on another rant, but there can be a lot of toxicity with visualization, that you're causing this in your body. Oh, you're not being positive enough. It's not true.
Positivity is a wonderful thing if
Yes.
it's something that you authentically feel and as a goal, but when it
Yes.
becomes a judgment, like how come you're not positive, or if you're not positive it's your fault, that's a whole different ballgame. Because just like you needed to be still at that
Yes.
time, and your now husband kind of saw you, it's like people need to be able to be in that more difficult place. Those things are not
Yes.
different side, those are not like, different things. Those are things that go
Yes.
together. And
Yes.
I agree
Yes.
with you 1,000%. Like it's great to, help people feel positive, but man, when you start judging people that they're not positive because of themselves, like now we're in a very, very different world, and not a
Yes.
particularly helpful one.
Yes. Totally. I also do, just want to say with, coming out of that headspace. I recently heard someone describe grief as glitter. where you'll clean it up, and so maybe you'll be having an okay day. You clean it up, and then you'll find little pieces, pieces that remind you, and maybe you like kind of go back, and then you'll be continuing on, and you'll still see it there. It's like it always exists. The glitter, the grief, whatever, it always exists. And some days you'll find more of it. Some days, because I've always been given like the wave analogy, which is a beautiful analogy and helpful, and knowing that there are bigger waves and there's so many smaller waves, and there's a whole tide, and it's a beautiful thing. But there was something about the glitter, no pun intended, that really stuck with me. Yeah, but it's not something that is going to be completely gone, from your psyche, from your body, and it really lives alongside you. And then the second thing I do want to just say, just if there is anyone listening that is in that um, headspace, of suicide, and not seeing a future for themselves. That was a big thing I noticed, was like not seeing a future, um, a state of hopelessness. I I do I do think confiding in someone you really trust, that is willing and open to helping. I I just want to briefly just say I had a whole plan in place, and when I got off the phone with the psychiatrist, and it wasn't even the psychiatrist, it was, the receptionist, and after voicing, I don't think I'll make it till then or whatever. And it was just sort of met with, that's the only appointment time we have. And again, there's protocol, and that's fine. But I really was like, okay, and not knowing this, that there's other routes, and not knowing there's other options. And I really, I can't tell you how it came up, but I was sitting with my partner on the couch, and oh, I think I was telling him about the conversation I had. I was telling him about the conversation I had, that I wasn't able to get an appointment to get some help. And I think I sort of mumbled under my breath, I don't, like, that is too long for me, that time frame. And he goes, "What do you mean?" And and he just kind of kept on asking, "What do you mean by that? What do you mean?" And then, when I started describing everything I had planned, he said, "So I would walk in on you?" And you're like, "Oh God, no, 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 no." And it like ruined it for me. And it ruined everything about my plan. Like, what are you talking about? And like, no, 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 you're not like, no, no, I don't even want to think of it. And he told me, "You're not allowed to do that." And it like made me laugh because you're not supposed to say that. Like it was like a funny, like, he goes, "Well, you're not allowed." And it was like such a bizarre moment to like laugh. And I'm crying, like we're both crying, by the way, as this is happening. Um and it was just like it put a hole in my plan, his involvement in it. It helped me. I think that's what pains me about the idea that there isn't necessarily therapists that are able to talk, because when you do talk through whatever your plan was, there's all these people that appear. It's annoying, you're like, well, no, that ruined it, now I hate that, I hate that. And then from there, we spoke to my friend that told me about the antidepressant, and it was a low dose. For me, it was just honestly, it was really a placebo effect. It was like, okay, I'm taking this thing. And I say that just because it was like the first week I like looked around, I said, "Oh my gosh, I love our place." And I was someone that like used to walk in gratitude. I mean, I would that's the way I lived my life. And I had no idea that we had moved into a place that had high ceilings. I didn't even, it was something I never recognized, but just this idea of taking something that was, for me, a choosing to live. And again, you can't control everything, but you definitely can actively, go against that. So I do want to just say that, I mean, it's a horrible story, but it's a story that, yeah, it saved my life, truly.